Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sūtra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Atha Om Atha Om Atha. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Tattu Samanvaya. It was said yesterday in the conclusion, Shabdanam Karyananta Shaktehe Pravrityadi Phalasyeva Shastratvat Siddhe Phala Bhavad Mananadi Videscha Karyaparaha Vedantaha iti Purupaksham. In the last line of Ratnaprabha in the page 144 it said, Purupaksha has presented basically these four aspects. Shabdanam Karyananta Shaktehe. Each one is the fifth case. Gives you the hetu. Since the Shabdas, the words, have Shakti, they convey the meaning Karyanvite only as connected with Karya. Shabda can only give us knowledge as connected with some Karya or some action. That being so, and therefore the words of Vedanta can give us only knowledge which is connected to action and not independent of it. Therefore, Karyaparaha Vedanta. Vedanta also, therefore, Karyaparaha, devoted to karma. Parvutyadi Phalasyeva Shastratvat. That what is Shastra? Shastra is that which gives us the knowledge of the means for attainment of happiness and avoiding of unhappiness. That is called Shastra, which gives us the knowledge of means for accomplishing Purushartha. Then, inasmuch as happiness can be attained only by pravritti, doing something, unhappiness can be avoided again by doing something else or avoiding something. That being the case, Shastra can only have its purport in pravritti and nivritti. And therefore also Vedanta must be devoted to pravritti or nivritti. Since that is the characteristic of Shastra. First, because it is the peculiar nature of the words. Secondly, it is the characteristic of Shastra. Thirdly, Siddhe Phala Bhavat. These are all their opinions. This is all their paksha. Siddhe Phala Bhavat. What result or what Purushartha can you attain by knowing something that is already there? If you know something that is not yet created, that is to be acquired, that is to be reached, then by reaching or acquiring, performing an appropriate action, well, it will serve the purpose. Here Brahman being Siddhavastu, Parinishthita Vastu, which is devoid of Heyatvam and Upadayatvam, you cannot acquire it nor can you get rid of it. A thing which is not characterized by Heyatvam and Upadayatvam cannot possibly become the means for Sukha Prapti and Dukkha Nivritti. So Brahma, which is Siddhavastu, cannot become the means for Purushartha, and therefore also Shastra cannot have Tatparya in Brahma. Meaning Shastra cannot have Tatparya in Siddhavastu, because knowledge of Siddhavastu does not impel any kind of an activity in me, and therefore that knowledge which does not impel some activity is of no good, no use, because only activity can achieve Sukha or eliminate Dukkha, and therefore also Parinishthita Vastu or Siddhavastu being what it is. Since the knowledge of Siddhavastu cannot be, knowledge of an existing entity cannot be of any use in my life, therefore Vedanta cannot be devoted to Brahman, which is Siddhavastu. And finally, Mananadi Videscha. Since Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha, Shravananantaram, we find that after the Shravanam also, Shastra enjoins that Mananam and Nididhyasanam must be carried out. That shows that Shravanam itself cannot generate the knowledge. That Mananam and Nididhyasanam, they are also mental activities, where Nididhyasanam can be interpreted as meditation or upasana. So Shastra also enjoins some mental activity even after Shravanam or after Vichara. That shows that Vichara cannot be the purport of Shastra, that meditation is the purport of Shastra. These 4 points are presented by the Vrittikara, by this Purupakshi, which will be answered by the Siddhantik, by Bhashyakara. Now go to page 145. So Purnanandya gives an introduction here. Yat phalam tat pravritti nivritti janyam iti purupakshi abhimata vyapti aprayojika. So this is a purupakshi abhimata vyapti. This vyapti, all these invariable, see, nitya sahacharyam, meaning when the two things always go together, then when they are inseparable variables, then when we find one variable, you can always infer the other fellow must be there. When two persons are, they always are together, you know. When you see one of them, you know the other fellow must have come. So this is the vyapti. Similarly also, yat phalam tat pravritti nivritti janyam. Wherever phala means anything that is useful, understand. That's called phalam. So any useful thing can be attained only when there is pravritti or nivritti. Pravritti, engagement, or nivritti, disengagement alone can create something useful. So yat phalam tat pravritti nivritti janyam. Iti purupakshi abhida vyapti. This is a vyapti, or this, the invariable relationship or concomitance, is what the purupakshi has in mind. Keeping that in mind, he has been arguing Vedantaha karyaparaha. Aprayojika. We say that this vyapti does not have prayojanam when it comes to brahmajnanam. This vyapti, that wherever the usefulness can be there only when there is pravritti or nivritti, that alone can generate a useful result, is generally okay. But when it comes to Brahma Vidya, that vyapti doesn't become prayojik, doesn't have a prayojanam. Aprayojika, that vyapti is not applicable here. Why? Pravrityadi ajanyasya siddha jnanajanyasya karma phala vilakshanasya vidvat anubhava siddhasya. See, all of these Bhashyakara is going to say. And therefore, Purnananda tells us what to expect. So this vyapti of the Purupakshi, how the khandanam is going to be done. This is all the pattern of thinking that the Purupakshi has. Everybody has patterns of thinking. Set patterns of thinking people have. And that is how we draw various conclusions in our life. When a given pattern of thinking is there, certain vyaptis are already established in our mind. So when we see a given thing, immediately we infer. So when I personally feel that a person is like this, whenever he walks in a certain manner, this fellow must be like this. Whenever a person has hairstyle like this, he must be like that. A person who is bald must be like that. A person who is short must be like that. A person who is tall and lean must be like that. These kind of vyaptis are there. So moment you see a person who is tall and lean, he must be like this. Short and fat must be like that. Or he is bald, must be like that. So understand that everyone has all these set patterns of thinking. And all our conclusions are based on these set patterns of thinking. This is not a joke, this is a fact of life. And thus everybody has their vyaptis, not that Purupakshi has. This is how human mind is. The human mind always functions based on these set patterns. And we have to break those patterns, we want to bring him out of it. If you want him to see something which is not able to see on account of his mind being devoted or mind being committed to a given way of seeing, that's all samsara is. What is samsara? This is a way of seeing. Every samsari is a way of seeing, and Shruti wants us to see differently. That's all samsara is, and that's all moksha is. There's nothing more, moksha according to Vedanta than proper way of seeing. And there's nothing more than samsara than the faulty way of seeing, that's all. Just because you perceive something, therefore it is real, therefore it is different, therefore it is anatma, therefore there is sukha and dukkha there. This is the conclusion. No thinking is given to that. Have you ever thought? Just because I perceive something, therefore it is real. Anything that is useful is real. Anything that is perceived is real. Anything that is perceived is different. So duality and the reality given to the world, and that the world is a source of happiness, pleasure and pain, all of these are set conclusions. And based on these conclusions we keep on asking, questioning and wondering and worrying and doing all kinds of things. But first, examine your patterns of thinking. This is Vedanta. And just becoming free from that. And what pattern of thinking should be there? A real pattern of thinking which Shruti provided. That's why we call it Pramanam. Seeing is involved, isn't it? So Pramana sees. Pramana gives us a knowledge, gives us a drashti. That's why they call it Jnana Chakshu, whatever you call it. That Chakshu or the drashti is in our buddhi. And why these Purva Pakshas are being discussed? Purva Pakshas represent some very strong set patterns of thinking or conclusions in life. We will have to deal with millions of Purva Paksha within our own self. Merely by dealing with this, we are not going to deal with everything. But these Purva Pakshas represent some very, very strong and very common set patterns of thinking. That's why they are taken up. Then there are individual variations which everyone has, which we have to ourselves discover within ourselves and deal with them. That is why it becomes necessary for a student of Vedanta to translate the Vedantic discussion in terms of his or her own personal life or personal way of thinking. Otherwise we become all experts in this and remain untouched with actual our life. Why? Because we do not translate this. Or we don't think that this is all Purva Paksha Abhipraya. Humko kuch nahi isse. I have nothing to do with it. So we think this is all academic discussion. It is not. And that is how is Purva Paksha means what? A certain pattern of thinking. That's all it is. And we don't insist that everybody has this pattern of thinking. But every time, in every time meaning at every time in the history, different patterns of thinking governed by a current thinking is always there. This was a pattern of thinking as governed by those days, where the Mimamsakas were very strong. Before they had to contend with the Bauddhas, that was the pattern of thinking, where the Vedas are Nastika, the Vedas are not Pramanam. And the Mimamsakas established that by establishing the value of karma. So therefore now Shankaracharya found that there are two patterns of thinking. One, a dying pattern of Shunyavada, and second is a pattern of thinking where karma is everything. Karmeti Mimamsakaha. Yam Shaivaha Samupasate Shivamiti. Brahmeti Vedantinaha. So Shaivas call him Shiva and Vedantins call him Brahma, etc. Karmeti Mimamsakaha. The Mimamsaka call the ultimate truth as karma. So this was a set pattern of thinking. And therefore, it is not that we want to dismiss a person or dismiss karma, but just pull him out of that pattern of thinking, so that see the things as they are. Karma, see its place. See the place of knowledge, see the place of karma, see the place of vyavahara, see the place of everything. Nothing can be excluded in knowledge, otherwise its knowledge is not complete. Yasmin vijnade, kasmin bhagava vijnade, sarvamidam vijnadam bhavati. Meaning, our whole life is known. Whether I know the stars and planets is of no consequence to me. Because what does it matter? What matters to me is the life that I have to lead. In that everything must be clear. When we say that the person becomes sarvagnya, meaning everything is clear to him about himself and about whatever he is dealing with, you understand? That's all that counts. What does it matter to me about the things which are not relevant to me? And thus these discussions are meant to address every kind of pattern of thinking that we have and to resolve it in order that we see things the way they are. So, Purupakshi Abhimata Vyapti. Vyapti means a set pattern of thinking. In this case, he sees a certain relationship which he experienced. And everybody has experiences in life from which we have drawn conclusions. Except that we think that that is all the life is about, that I have experience. That we have to find out that there is a scope beyond my experience. And if there is, then I must see what is the validity of my pattern of thinking or my pattern of concluding. The buddhi always concludes. Adhyavasayatmika buddhi. It is the nature of the intellect to conclude. That is called buddhi. And therefore it will have conclusions about everything. That I do not know also is a conclusion. Whatever, if for everything, buddhi must have an opinion. If it doesn't have opinion, this thing, buddhi will be stuck. Then like do loop in the computer, it will go around and round, it gets stuck. Therefore, in order that it can proceed in life, it must have conclusion. This is how it is, this is how that is how that is. Otherwise we cannot deal, vyavahara nahi chalta hai. So all these conclusions are nothing but patterns of thinking which are based on our experience. Understand which experience has been mainly gained as a child of the age 3. Most of the conclusions are there in the head by the age 3, they say. So we may be very intelligent people, but we must know that our conclusions are based from what? From a time when I had no intelligence at all and I had my own way of observing the world and drawing conclusions. And it is that which governs me at this time. I may be such a great person right now, maybe managing director, all right, but very often, in many ways, as far as the world is concerned, since my education came from university and things like that, therefore it was fresh. So they are very clever. Which pattern of thinking is fresh, like chemistry, physics, management, whatever it is. There we are all experts because there was no conclusion, and therefore we learn things the way they should be learned. But about life, we have all our own conclusions. There no fresh thinking is there. Every thinking or everything, every experience we come across is all colored by our old things. And therefore, there is no objectivity. So even though we find ourselves very clear about mathematics or about prakriyas of Vedanta, understand, which is also mathematics, that does not mean that we have necessarily seen this in our life. And therefore, we should learn to translate these things, see these things in our own mind, and learn to address them, and thus resolve them. This is called the resolving. This is how freedom comes. What is bondage? It is nothing but I am bound by a given pattern of thinking, I cannot come out of it. And it is that pattern of thinking that governs me, that determines what I will do and what I will not do. That's called bondage. What else is bondage? Who has tied me with a rope? Nobody has tied me. Nobody controls me from outside. Maybe a few people, there may be some control system in the outside world, okay. But the inner control system is tremendous. And what controls me? My conclusions and my set patterns of thinking. That is bondage according to Vedanta. And becoming free from that is called moksha. That's all it is, and nothing more. So simple and still so difficult. Durat sudure tadihantike cha. So understand, it is as simple as this. And since we are so oriented towards action and doing something and experiencing something, that it becomes more difficult than anything else. So that pattern of thinking that something must be seen, something must be experienced, something must be created, something must be felt, then alone I have achieved something, or that alone is called something spiritual. That is so strong a conclusion that Vedantins always have. This karma means all that. What is karma? Or karma is nothing but, there is nothing wrong with karma. It is that pattern of thinking that I must create something which is not there. I must experience something which is not being experienced. I must see something which is not yet seen. So apurvata comes. Nobody is interested or impressed by what is there. Wo to hai. Something apurva, something not there, something not yet experienced, which is all fine. There is nothing wrong in gaining experiences, gaining senses. It's all wonderful, fine, have it. Like eating ice cream and things like that. It's also a way of getting sensations, which is all right. We need that. Otherwise you become very dull, As long as you need it, you do it. It's not that you have to need it, but we find ourselves needing it, fine. Go ahead and have some fun, no problem. However, that is not the solution. Having fun is not the solution of life. Having fun means gaining a sensation. Sensation means creating something. The utpatti comes there. Utpatti, vyapti, vikriti, samskruti. And thus these things are always there. So this is a fundamental set pattern of thinking in every human being. And in the name of Mimamsakas, what is being addressed is this. We think that Mimamsakas are dismissed and we are happy. But we know that a Mimamsaka is sitting in there. Who is a Mimamsaka? An experience-oriented person who is committed to apurva, meaning creating something which is not there. And therefore, there is always an overlooking of or a denial of what is there. This person is always in future because he thinks that the present doesn't have anything to offer, or what present offers is not what I am seeking. So he wants to create something. So he is looking for something which is not there. Always bhavana kisme karta hai? Bhavayet, jyodishtomena, bhavayet means what? Always think of swarga. Create swarga in your mind through this action. So always need to create something which is not there, which is a human need, which is recognized and therefore it is provided for. But a time has to come when one has to come out of this need also. Because the very obsession with what is not there and what is to be created and what is to be reached always is at the cost of what is presently there, isn't it? How can I think of future unless I can overlook the present? That's why that karma phalasakti. You will find this Lord Krishna in his own way very beautifully addressing these problems in very practical way. So what is discussed here in a very intellectual way is in a very practical way addressed by Lord Krishna. When Lord Krishna says, as he said, krupanaha phalahetavaha, those people who perform actions with an orientation towards result, they will always think of result which is not there, which is to be created, which is in future. And that is how they are not in the present. So only the denial of present can enable me to dwell upon the future. Karma phala stands for future, which is not there, which is to be created, which is to be experienced. So there is an orientation which Lord Krishna wants us to see, that orientation is not right. See what is there. Is etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha. So vikampena yogena yujyate natra samja. See my vibhuti and yoga, you don't need anything else. But that we don't see. Usme kya hai? That tree is there, so what? I want to see certain flowers on the tree, not tree as it is. So inability of the human mind to see the beauty in what is, and the need to see the beauty only in what my mind has a certain pattern. So everywhere we have pattern that this alone is beautiful and not that. This alone is good and not that. All of these are patterns. Ideally, there is no pattern. That's why they talk of all vritti nirodha is what are these nirodha of these patterns. Whether thoughts are there is not material to a Vedanta. But what is to be resolved is all these conclusions, all these patterns. This is what they call superimposition. This alone is adhyasa. Everywhere. What is adhyasa? I don't see beauty in that tree. I see beauty in a tree having flowers. So therefore upon this tree which is present, a ugliness adhyasa is done. Otherwise how can I ask for a tree with flowers? So adhyasa to chal raha hai. So this is what they call adhyasa. And to become free from the adhyasa is the purpose of Vedanta. And so we should know that all of these is very relevant and has to do with us, not with some Purupakshi sitting at some point in time. Why should Bhashyakara want to spend all this time to dismiss some Vrittikara? What does it matter? It only gives Bhashyakara or a Siddhanti a very nice ground to discuss what is necessary to discuss. In order to bring out what is to be brought out, you need some basis. So that is just taken as a basis, understand. No Vrittikara and no Purvapakshi and Mimamsaka, nobody is our enemies, and we don't have to dismiss anybody. We have to learn, that's all. And from their experiences we learn. See how they think. Why do they think like this? And so, those thinking patterns are taken up for learning, so that we can ourselves become free from that. Okay. So, yat phalam, tat pravritti nivritti janyam. Whenever phala is there, saphalam means what? That is useful. Phala means useful. A useful thing can only be generated from pravritti and nivritti. Iti purvapakshi abhimata vyapti prayojika, that this vyapti, this conclusion on your part, that something useful can be created or can be obtained only when you do something or when you avoid something. That is not a universal rule. Pravrityadi ajanyasya siddha jnanajanyasya karma phala vilakshanasya vidvat anubhava siddhasya sarvanartha nivritti rupasya phalasya sambhavat. There is another kind of phala also, which is not pravritti nivritti janyam. There is another kind of phala. The phala vailakshanyam is pointed out here. Two kinds of phala are there, two kinds of results are there. One is no doubt the standard one that is born of pravritti nivritti. Other one is what? Pravrityadi ajanyasya phalasya. A phalam that is not born of pravritti, and pravrityadi means pravritti and nivritti. There can be phala. There can be something useful to be attained without pravritti and nivritti also. Siddha jnanajanyasya. From the knowledge of something that is there. You see a snake and then you do pravritti or nivritti. Pravritti of attacking the snake or nivritti of running away from there, that is one phala. There is another phala also, nayam sarpaha iyam rajjuhu. The knowledge of a siddha vastu also can generate phala in terms of anartha nivritti. Karma phala vilakshanasya, and that phala is karma phala vilakshanasya. Normally karma phala creates certain effects. This phala is altogether different, because karma phala only creates the potential under karma. Karma phala will always create a reaction. You perform an action, a reaction is created, which has the potential of another action in there. So karma phala always creates a chain of karma and karma phala. This stops all the chain. Because having run away from that snake, that is not the end of it, because you wanted to go somewhere anyway. So you'll have to do something. So that nivritti from the snake is not the final thing. That generates another pravritti of going some other way, Whereas knowing it as rope has resolved everything, and you can proceed with what you have to do. And therefore, the phala of siddhavastu, that jnanam, is something quite distinct from the ordinary karma phalam. Then how do you say it is there? Vidvat anubhava siddhasya. Can Brahman be known? It's nice to know that Brahman is. Satyam jnanam anantam yato vayamani bhutani. Everything is fine. But can it ever be known? Yes. Vidvat anubhava siddhasya. So Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava, all the three must be presented. Scriptures say that what they say is reasonable and that it can be actualized, in our own life. Vidvat Anubhava Siddhasya, that this knowledge or this phala is something that is a matter of experience or a direct knowledge of the Vidwan, of the wise people. Sarva Anartha Nivritti Rupasya. What is that phalam? Is Sarva Anartha Nivritti. So is a removal of all the cessation of all the suffering. So the phala of Brahma Jnanam brings about a phala, which is what? Sarva Anartha Nivritti, cessation of all the suffering, of all the grief. So, Yadrushasya Phalasya Sambhavat. This kind of phala, that kind of phala is there, Iti Abhipretya. Now Siddhanti has his abhipraya in the mind. So Purvapakshi has his abhipraya. Yat phalam tat pravritti nivritti janyam. While Siddhanti says no, he will show exceptions everywhere. Abhipretya pariharati. This is what? This is the abhipraya of Bhashyakara or the Siddhanti. Iti, that is how Purananda Ratnaprabha explains the Bhashya. How Ratnaprabha is going to explain Bhashya. is what Purnananda tells us, So, iti bhashyam avatarayati. Somebody may explain the bhashya differently, okay? By the way, so there are other commentators who may have a different way of saying. This is how Ratnaprabhakara sees the intention of Bhashyakara. A Bhamati may see it differently also. Therefore, this is Tika being on Ratnaprabha. This is how Ratnaprabhakara sees the intention of Bhashyakara. That's how Purnananda sees the intention of Ratnaprabha. That's how we see his intention, So everywhere some seeing is always involved, understand? Anyway, Bhashyam Avtarayati Vedantaha iti. And so, says Ratnaprabha here, Vedantaha na vidhiparaha. That's the reason why they use technical expressions for which understanding is established. That when you use certain words and they mean certain things, because that is how they are used, like in mathematics or in any science. So when you use pravritti, nivritti, karma, phala, and all these terms that you use, then the meanings are known or commonly understood. That's why they use those words, so that there cannot be much ambiguity in understanding. So Ratnaprabha says, Vedantaha na vidhiparaha swarthe phalavatve sati niyojya viduratvat nayam sarpaha iti vakyavat. This is the inference, keeping which in mind Bhashyakara develops number of pages develops the thought through so many number of pages. So what Bhashyakara is right away going to say is this, Vedantaha na vidhiparaha. 4 reasons were given to us why Vedantaha vidhiparaha or karyaparaha. Purva Pakshi said Vedantas are devoted to karya or to karma. Siddhanti says Vedantaha na vidhiparaha. Vedantas are not devoted to vidhi, meaning enjoying activity. So vidhi also means karya. Because when vidhi is there, enjoyment is there, naturally there is a following of that enjoyment, so karma will come. So dharma will come, everything will come. So na vidhiparaha. Why is it so? So na vidhiparaha becomes what? Sadhyam. Vedantaha na vidhiparaha sadhyam. What's the hetu? Swarthe phalavatve sati niyojya viduratvat. 5th case is hetu. Niyojya viduratvat. Because Vedantas are divided in niyojya. What is niyojya? Niyojya hai नियोग करता तत्प्रतिपादकत्व अभावाद इत्यर्थ है अथवा विधेय प्रतिपादकत्व अभावत्वाद इत्यर्थ है. नियोज्य means a person who is going to do things. Like says swarga kamo yajeta. Standard vakya is jyotishtomena swarga kamo yajeta. Swarga kama, the one who is desirous of heavens, should perform this particular yaga jyotishtoma for attainment of swarga. So who is the one who is instructed or directed? Swarga kama. One desirous of swarga. He becomes what? Niyojya. And jyotistomena yajeta. He should perform jyotishtoma. So jyotishtoma becomes what? Vidheya. Vidheya means that for which the vidhi or injunction is given. So there is a niyojya and vidheya. So wherever any instruction is given, or before an action can be performed, these two must be there. A niyojya, the adhikari must be there, who is fit to perform that action, or is addressed, to whom the command is given. And secondly, he must be told what to do also. Bring. Suppose I say that, that's not enough. There is, you bring, I say, then niyojya is there, but vidheya is there. What should I bring? So, bring water. Then water becomes the object of action. That becomes the vidheya. So that what is to be done also there, and who should do. Who should do is called niyojya, and what is to be done is called vidheya. He says, so niyojya word is explained by the Purnananda in this way. Niyojya niyoga karta tat pratipadakatva abhavad. Vedantas do not deal with a person, in terms of, who is obliged to do this. One is desirous, amrutatva kamaha, brahma jnanena moksham bhavayata, something like that, So one who is desirous of immortality, he should attain moksha through Brahma Vidya. We do not find this kind of an injunction where amruta kama, one desirous of heaven should do this kind of reference we don't find. or that an adhikari should do a given thing, this vidheya also we do not find. So athva vidheya pratibadakatva abhavatvat, there is no vidheya that one should do this. We don't find in Vedanta, nor do we find one desirous of a given thing, should do. That also we do not find. So niyojya vidhati si hetu, niyojya vidhuratvat. But that hetu has been qualified. Swarthe phalavatve sati. Even if niyojya is not there, that itself is not enough. Vedanta does not have niyojya, meaning there is nothing that is enjoined in Vedanta, or there is no one who is enjoined a given thing. Sayo havai brahmaveda brahmaiva bhavati. Whoever he is, who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. Not that a Brahmana or somebody else only, So the knower alone, there is no further. Brahmaveda apnodi param. The knower of Brahma attains limitless. That's all. There is no one who is enjoined there as one desirous of a given thing or whatever it is. That kind of, but only one who is desirous of a given thing alone can attain moksha. Such a thing is not there. Whoever has this knowledge gains the moksha. So niyojya is not there. At the same time, Vedantaha swarthe phalavatve sati. That Vedantas have purport in their own selves. They serve the purpose of themselves. Arthavada is that which does not have swarthe tatparya, meaning Arthavada serves the purpose of some vidhi. So, however, Vedanta does not serve the purpose of some vidhi. They have swarthe tatparya, meaning they mean what they say. Arthavadas don't mean what they say, they mean something else. But here they mean what they say. Phalavatve sati. And then also, what you say must be useful. So Vedantas have tatparya, the purport in their own self. Secondly, phalavatve, they are fruitful or they are useful. And thirdly, they are devoid of niyojya. They are thirdly devoid of one who is instructed or what is to be done. These things we do not find in Vedanta. Therefore, Vedantaha na vidhiparaha. What is the illustration? Nayam sarpaha iti vakyavat. So Vedanta vakyas are like this. Swarga kamo yajita also is a vakya. So arodit also is a vakya. The Vedanta vakya is of a different kind. Nayam sarpaha. Atvam dashamosi. That's the vakya. Or Nayam sarpaha. This is not a snake. This is a rope. In that case, nobody is instructed. Is any instruction involved there? Hey, Nayam Sarpaha, Iyam Rajjuhu. Who is addressed? Nobody is addressed. This is a statement of fact. No particular person is addressed in here, That may you know this as a rope, etc. That's okay. But it's not that some particular person alone is addressed. This statement of fact does not address a person because Vastu Tantram Jnanam and Purusha Tantram Karma. When karma comes, since karma is dependent upon a person, therefore a person must be addressed. If I make a general statement, may the water be brought, it will never be brought because who will bring it? So if I want that an action to be performed, I must say, may so and so bring the water, then alone the instruction will be followed. But here when I say, may this be known as jasmine flower, then this statement is applicable to everyone. Karma statement is applicable to a particular person, statement about knowledge is applicable to everyone. Therefore, when it is said, Swarga Kama, Jyotishtoma Yajeta, that one should perform Jyotishtoma Yaga, then you must clarify, Swarga Kama Yajeta. One who is desirous of Swarga alone should do that. Where to say that Atma is Brahma, there is no need that a given person also, because that is Vastu Tantra, meaning Atma is Brahman. So in statement of fact, which reveal the knowledge, Jnanam is Vastu Tantram, not Purusha Tantram. Therefore, a Purusha is not addressed. Karma being Purusha Tantram, depending on the will of the person. Therefore, a person must be addressed. He is called Niyojya. Here, no person is addressed. And secondly, there is nothing to be done. Secondly, not only he is addressed, but then he is also being told what to do. There is nothing told as to what to do. This is a snake, this is a rope, that's all. There is nothing to be done, something to be known. It is not that knowledge is not dependent upon a person, it is dependent upon the Vastu. So peculiarities being this, that jnanam being vastu tantram, therefore niyojya in the terms of a person is not there. And jnanam being safalam, therefore jnanam itself being the result for anartha nivritti, therefore a vidheya or some action is not involved. So these two are the peculiarities. Iti vakyavat, Vedanta vakyas are like this, that they reveal the nature of things. And therefore it is open for everybody. Whoever has eyes can see that this is jasmine flower. That's all. We don't have to say whoever has eyes may see this as a jasmine flower. You don't have to say that, because seeing can take place only when there are eyes. And therefore, when this statement is this is jasmine flower, if you have the choice of may you see this as a rose flower, then that will be called new, then some instruction is there. Seeing is involved. The vidheya is may you see this as a rose flower. You cannot say that. This, you cannot even say may you see this as a jasmine flower, because all we have to say is this is jasmine flower. And automatically seeing takes place. And therefore there is no will on the part of the person as far as knowledge is concerned. At the same time, knowledge itself being the end, nothing is to be done. These two are the peculiarities, the uniqueness about Vedanta. And that is why we say that Vedantaha na vidhiparaha. Then somebody will say, Swarodit, Swarga Kamo Yajeta, Iti Vakyayoho Nirasaya. That karma kanda does not fall in this category. Only Vedantaha na vidhiparaha. Vedantas are not devoted to vidhi or karma. But then they'll say Vedanta also is Veda, and therefore karma kanda also is Veda. So somebody may conclude that karma kanda then by that same rule are not devoted to vidhi. He says no, karma kanda vakyas are different and Vedanta vakyas are different. Karma kanda has two kinds of vakyas. What are they? Saha arodit, he wept. This we discussed earlier. This is called Arthavada. This is Agni, he wept. When it was held by the Devatas, Agnis wept. When did he weep? Because in a particular yaga, Rajatam or silver was given as Dakshina. And therefore, Agni wept. So when Agni wept, then the silver came out, then that was, so when Agni wept, then silver was, his tears got turned into silver. And therefore, that silver should not be given in Dakshina. Therefore, to prevent a person from giving silver, so gold should be given. Whatever must be the reason, there is always some reason for everything. So idea is that Saha Arodit is a supplementary statement and not a direct statement. So it is called Arthavada. Then Swarga Kamo Yajeta. One desirous of Swarga may he perform a given action. This is what? This is Vidhi. Yajeta is a Vidhi. So one desirous of heavens, may he perform Agnihotra or Jyotishtoma. So this is Vidhi Vakya or a principal Vakya. And Saha Arodit, this is what we call Arthavada. These are two kinds of Vakyas we find in Karma Kanda. So we have to show these two Vakyas, they are not covered by your Anumanam. You said Vedantaha navidiparaha swarthe phalavatve sati niyojya vidurutvad nayam sarpahidi vakyavat. In that Anumanam, that these Vakyas of Karma Kanda, namely Saha Arodit and Swarga Kama Yajeta, they are not included. That means they remain vidhiparaha in spite of being Veda Vakya. That also we should show. Iti Vakyayoho Nirasaya, meaning Vibhichara Nirasaya, that there is no Vibhichara. That these Vakyas are not exception. These Vakyas, even though they are not Vedanta, still they are not vidhiparaha. No. These Vakyas like Saha Arodit or Swarga Kama Yajeta, which is not Vedanta, is not vidhipara. This is what also we have to show. Heto Visheshana Dvayam. This Visheshana Dvayam, Swarthe Phalavatve Sati. What is Hetu? Niyojya Viduratvat. Because there is no Niyojya. Because there is no Purusha Tantratva. That's all right. At the same time, Swarthe Phalavatve Sati. These Vakyas have Swarthe Tatparyam and they are Safala. There is a Safalatvam. That being the case, so Siddhanti Atraiti. Now you have to see Purnanandya, how he explains that Vakya of Ratnaprabha. That Vakyayoho Vyabhichara Nirasaya. In Purnanandya second line, Vakyayoho Vyabhichara Nirasaya. This is how Purnananda reads that Vakya. Vyabhichara Nirasaya. To show that this particular Anumanam that we have presented has no Vyabhichara in these two Vakyas also. That the Anumanam is clean without any Vyabhichara, meaning without any exception, or without, it does not deviate. It doesn't include too much. And so these Vakyas, namely the Arthavada and the Vidhi Vakya of the Karmakanda, are not included in this Vedanta. This particular Anumanam, this word we have to show. So Vyabhichara Nirasaya, there is no Vyabhichara. This Anumanam does not have Vyabhichara in these Vakyas. So what is Vyabhichara? He explains, Sadhya Abhavavati Hetoho Vrittitvam Vyabhichara Shabdartha. That Hetu is there in a given thing, but Sadhya is not there. Hetu is there, but Sadhya is not there. Like Yatra Yatra Vanni Tatra Tatra Dhumaha, you know. So you say Vanni is there, Dhumatvam is what? Hetu. Then you say there is a Vyabhichara of this, what? Ayogolakaha. That there is this hot iron ball where Agni is there, but Dhuma is not there. In that case, when you present this kind of Anumanam, Yatra Yatra Agni Tatra Tatra Dhuma, wherever fire is there, smoke must be there. There is a Vyabhichara, meaning there is an exception. What is the exception? Ayogolakaha. The red hot iron ball becomes the exception because fire is there, smoke is not there. And that's called Vyabhichara. So here also we want, so Sadhya Abhavavati Hetoho Vrittitvam, that fire is there in the Ayogolaka, the Vannimatvam is there, the Hetu is there, but Sadhya meaning Dhumatvam is not there. That is called Vyabhichara, where Hetu is there, but Sadhya is not there because of some Upadhi. Upadhi does that. We said Ardrandhana Sanyogaha, because that smoke is an additional condition. Apart from fire, the additional condition of moisture also is called for. So in iron ball, fire is there, but extra condition of moisture, that peculiar condition or adventitious condition of moisture not being there, that smoke is not there. So this is called Vyabhichara, where the Anumana that you present, it does not cover a given thing or covers more than what is necessary. So Sadhya Abhavati Hetoho Vrittitvam. That in a given thing, Hetu is there, but Sadhya is not there. That is a Vyabhichara Shabda, that is called Vyabhichara. Now he explains both the Vakya. Saha Arodhi iti Vakya. How Vyabhichara is not there of this Anumana. So Arodhi iti Vakya, that's the Arthavada. Sakshad Videya Pratibhadakatva Abhavarupa Hetoho Sattvat. Then Sakshad Videya Pratibhadakatva Abhavarup Hetu. Hetu is what? Niyojya Viduratvam is Hetu. And Niyojya was also explained as Videya. That's how Purnananda explained. So in Saha Arodhit, there is nothing to be done. Sakshad Videya Pratibhadakatva. Jyotishthamena yajeta. There immediately there is an instruction of doing something, that name is Jyotishtama. Saha Arodhit, he wept. In that Vakya, nothing is to be done. So Videya, what is to be done is not there. Therefore, Niyojya Bhavavatvam, that Hetu is there. That what is to be done is absent in that Vakya. So if you had just said, Vedantaha na vidhiparaha Niyojya Viduratvat, that Vedantas are not devoted to Vidhi, because they do not have Niyojya, then Saha Arodhit, that Vakya also will be included there, because he wept, there is no Niyojya, meaning there is no Videya of what is to be done. Then that Anumana would have Vyabhichara in Saha Arodhit. That's why they said Swarthe Phalavatve Sati. So Sakshad Videya Pratibhadakatva Abhavarupa Hetoho Sattvat. But then